Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I am your co-host, Puma El Gato, the cat that gives you your regime back. And to my right over here is the main man, Jesus Dinero, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die, deadlier than the Diaz brothers, and spicier content than your girls' OnlyFans. My man, I realized that there was a sort of biggish fight that happened over the past weekend. Unfortunately, I couldn't exactly attend, so please fill me in on what happened as well as the audience.
Man, so the fight that we had going on was Ryan Garcia facing Fortuna. It's one of those scenarios in which a lot of people were hesitant to really expect anything. I mean, most people thought that, yeah, Ryan was going to get him out of there. It was one of those particular scenarios where people were excited yet not excited, and let me explain what I mean by that. So in the past year, we'll go a year and a half, Garcia has floundered out of a few fights. So people are like, are you going to be a boxer? Are you going to be an Instagram star? Like, what the fuck are you doing? So he's had one fight this year, about 3 or 4 months ago. And I mean, it was as to be expected. It was really, and I don't mean to disrespect when I'm saying this, it was against a nobody. Fortuna's a little bit more of a seasoned vet. He did hold a title at one point. So there's a little bit more to it in that particular aspect. With that being said, you know, everybody expected Ryan to win. He did get him out of there. He got him out of there with a beautiful 3-punch combination. Overall, yeah, I mean, it was an okay fight. I don't really feel like Ryan was tested all that much. There were a couple moments where Fortuna was having a little bit of fire, but for the most part, it was Ryan Garcia, and again, everybody expected it. One thing to note, he did call out Tank Davis after that. I'll be honest with you, me personally, I think if he does fight Tank Davis will get him out of there. But then he did say, if, you know, for whatever reason the Tank Davis fight can't be made, he'd like to fight Teofimo Lopez. That one I feel like is a little bit more in his favor. But you know, we'll see. Overall, again, it was a pretty standard performance, I guess you could say. There was no real surprises, but you know, it is what it is. With that being said, again, my man unfortunately couldn't attend the fight, but no big deal. You know, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is the xQc and Andrew Tate debate. If you guys don't know who these guys are, xQc is a Twitch streamer. Andrew Tate is a content creator that's really a big part of the manosphere now, if you guys want to look that up a little bit.
Basically a motivational guru.
Yeah, again, depending on which circle you're looking at. I think some of the shit he says is right on the button. I think he's correct about a lot of shit. I also think, you know, there's a lot of shit that he's wrong about. But with that being said, the debate was basically, as a man, what is your responsibility? They used the example of, if you and your girl are in your home, you guys are upstairs, you guys are sleeping in the middle of the night, somebody breaks in, who goes down? Now, Andrew Tate, again, him being part of the manosphere, he says, it is my responsibility as the man to go down there and defend my spouse, whether, you know, I get seriously injured or whether I kick his ass. That's my responsibility as a man, and he believes that society should see it that way. xQc gave a really fucking weird answer. He says nobody goes down there. And the panel that they were on kind of said, well, what the hell do you do then? You know, what if they come upstairs? And he was basically trying to take the more, I guess, newer view of it, of, you know, we're equal. Men and women are equal. So, you know, if she's a better fighter than me, she goes down there. If she's a better shot than me, she goes down there with a gun and she takes the shot. I'll be honest with you, me personally, my man, I don't give a fuck what anybody says, you know, whether you're a feminist or not. Look, if I'm dating somebody and a motherfucker comes in the crib, I look at it as my responsibility to go down there to protect my family. That is maybe an old school way of thinking, but I'll be honest with you, I look at that as my role in the relationship, to protect my woman, to protect my family, my kids, whatever it may be. That is my personal take on it. So I guess in this scenario, I would lean more with Andrew Tate. It's weird that xQc came up with this whole, he was giving, and you know, both sides were giving scenarios, but I feel like where everybody felt xQc was disingenuous was that he was giving a lot of weird, like, oh, who's the better shot, or you know, maybe my spouse is an MMA fighter, or all these ridiculous, like, look, bro, we're talking about the general population. Most women are not MMA fighters. Are women MMA fighters? Sure, but most women are not. I don't know. It was definitely unique. I'll be honest with you, man. Look, I understand people making their arguments from their point of view. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's certain things that like you know, we've been brought up, especially myself. You know, other people have been brought up in the sense of like, look, as the man, it is your responsibility to protect your family, to protect your wife, your kids, whatever it may be. And I'll be honest with you, I don't disagree with that. You know, I know that there's gonna be some feminists out there that'll say, oh, you know, I'm just as strong, and that might be true. You might be just as strong. I would still personally take the lead. What are your thoughts, my man?
Well, it's funny because he was asking all these questions, like he was trying to consider every single possibility. I was like, well, here's the thing, my man. In the heat of action, you don't really have time to think. You don't have to go, oh, like, what kind of gun is he holding? Is it a pistol? Is it a 12 gauge? Could I possibly survive? No, it's you hear rumbling, you know for a fact it's not any of your children's, not your spouse. Everybody that should be accounted for is in their spots. Why is there still noise downstairs? You don't have time to think. So it's funny that he's trying to come up with, well, what if she's this? What if she's that? What if this person's like, it doesn't matter. Like, again, if you hear something scary happen up in your house, you can't really just let that go.
He also kept on saying, oh, I don't like this scenario, it's weird, blah, blah. So they gave him another scenario and said, okay, let's say you and your girl are hiking, right? You guys are on a hike, and a bear comes out of fucking nowhere. What do? Most of the dudes on the panel said, look, man, I'm gonna die. But I would absolutely jump forward, let the bear fucking maul me to fucking death, basically. That way, at least my woman can make a run for it. You know, I'll give some personal experience to this. I actually have, because a lot of people will say like, oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know what you were doing in the moment. I'll give you a perfect example. And mind you, this was when I was 14 years old. So I actually do have some experience in this particular avenue. When I was 14 years old, I was dating this girl. We'll call her, I'm going to make up a name because I don't want to point out who it is. I'm going to call her Nancy. She was a Latina, but I'm going to call her Nancy. So at that time when I started dating Nancy, apparently before I was dating her, keep in mind we're both 14 years old, we're both in the 8th grade. Apparently before I dating her, a gentleman who went to jail for a little bit of time, who was at the time I believe 21, 22 years old, was dating her. Yeah, I know, weird, right? Anyways, so I started dating her. I would take to walking her home from school. I was usually in detention, so I would usually get out late. And I walk her home from school. When dude got out of prison, got out of jail, whatever it was, he apparently did not like that I was a 14-year-old dating a 14-year-old who he believed as a 22-year-old, 21-year-old to be his girlfriend. So one day, as I was heading on, walking her to her house, the same car kept passing by. And I'll be honest with you, I knew what was up. I knew what was going to happen. In fact, when the car pulled up next to us, I specifically told her, keep walking. Because I knew what was about to happen. And at that moment in time, I proceeded to get jumped by 4 individuals. Mind you, some of these individuals were grown-ass men. I was a 14-year-old child. And even then, at 14 years old, I still had that I must protect my woman thought in my mind. That instinct to say, hey, look, I didn't say much. I just said, just keep walking. And when they pulled out, it was pretty evident what was gonna happen. So yeah, I got my fucking ass kicked by 4 individuals. It was it wasn't really much of a fight. They fucked me up, and it is what it is. But back to my main point. Even at that young age, I knew that it was my responsibility to take care of my woman. It's ingrained in me that was my responsibility. There's been other scenarios, but we'll leave it at that for now at that particular one. So this guy xQc, I'll be honest with you. I knew, and I've known him, I've heard about him before, him being a Twitch streamer and whatnot. But in my eyes, his answers were, and I hate using these type of terms,
Baitish.
It was beta shit. It was beta shit. Now again, I don't like to use the term beta and alpha, all that kind of stuff. But look, if you're, I don't give a fuck what era we're in, man. If you have to debate as a man with yourself, do I need to protect my woman? You shouldn't have a woman. And I know that sounds hella fucked up, but look, doesn't matter what BS people try to put out there, it is your responsibility as a man to take care of this woman. I don't know, what do you think about that, my man?
I don't know why the fuck you would ask me that. I don't disagree with you.
Well, the reason I ask is because I know that at your job there's a lot of different thought processes, different manners of being, so I figured I'd give you an ask to see, why you believe, given you have such a diverse circle of friends there.
There was one time where it was basically me closing down the store, and it was I was the only male employee. It was a female manager and 3 female cashiers or whatever. And apparently there were some dudes that were circling the parking lot directly right in front of us, and they all looked at me, and I'm like, well, I understand, but y'all didn't have to be so quick with it. Like, I'm not gonna not fucking escort them to their cars, but I was like, they looked at me right fucking quick. They just looked at me like,
Yeah.
well, I was like, well, we all knew it. You didn't have to say it.
Alright, so I guess that's our take on it. It's one of those scenarios where, again, it shouldn't really be a debate. Unfortunately, apparently it is. You know, if you're a man, you got a woman, stand up for your fucking woman, man. Doesn't matter what the scenario is. You got to give your fucking life for her. Do it. With that being said, let's move on to next. My man, Ted Cruz. Always talking shit, always annoying. Look, there are some conservatives out there that make some valid points and make some valid arguments to further, you know, political discourse. Ted Cruz is not one of them. Ted Cruz is one of these motherfuckers that likes to be in front of the fucking camera all the goddamn time, and he says some absurd shit just because, you know, he's a little bit of an attention whore, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. To a certain degree, we're all a little bit of attention whores, but you know, Ted Cruz basically stated, and he basically kind of affirmed what's next. So as a lot of you know, because of the recent Supreme Court decisions, Roe v. Wade has basically been overturned. With that being said, Ted Cruz is now saying that he believes that the decision allowing gay marriage was government overreach, that the Supreme Court decided that bad boy wrong, and that they should take a look at it. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a new stance for Ted Cruz, but it's one of those scenarios where, you know, a lot of people are making the argument that, oh, you know, the Roe v. Wade is just one thing, you know, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people said, look, based on what Clarence Thomas said in his statements regarding, you know, when they overturned Roe v. Wade, or basically overturned Roe v. Wade, he basically made a comment. Basically, all the decisions that he felt were incorrectly decided on by the Supreme Court. Which is funny because he included all of the similar style decisions, with the exception of the one that would have affected him, but that's for another day. With that being said, you know, again, it's no surprise. Let's keep it 100 here. You know, some people make the argument that, you know, oh, you know, it's a living child inside you. You know, of course they have rights, blah 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 blah. With that being said, you know, it's not your right to decide that. It's also not your right to decide who can and cannot get married. There's literally been no social repercussions for the LGBTQ community to be able to get married. I'm in support of gays and lesbians being able to get married to whoever they want. I know I have quite a few lesbian and gay friends. In fact, in my lead up to my previous video, I actually consulted with a couple of them regarding a couple words and regarding certain individuals of the LGBTQ community. But with that being said, it's Ted Cruz wanting to lead the charge still to be an attention whore. Does he believe that gay marriage should not be legal? I'm sure he believes it shouldn't be illegal. But you know, it just, again, him being an attention whore for the sake of being an attention whore. What do you think about Ted Cruz's comments, my man?
Well, I mean, there was one other addition that people didn't like overlook, because yeah, the same-sex thing was like the biggest one, and granted, rightfully so. There was one other tidbit that did bother me, was that he said, you know, regarding states' rights issues on whether or not they can allow legal abortion. Now he's saying that states' rights shouldn't be able to supersede that. Like, now it should just be illegal to have an abortion nationwide, which it was funny because, oh, it's states' rights. The states' rights can decide what they want. Then all of a sudden, no, they don't get to decide what they want. This needs to be outlawed everywhere, which is, I'd say it surprises me, but it seems par for the course.
See, and that's the funny part about these people that claim to love freedom, is that they'll take inch by inch. You know, somebody says if you want to conquer a territory, you don't try to take over the whole thing all at once. You take small footholds. So it's one of those scenarios in which, look, he was originally obviously against abortion, And again, it's not a new stance by him to say that he's against legalized gay marriage. But again, they took one foothold, they're going to move on to the next, and so on and so forth. So they're going to keep moving on and on and on to the next thing until everything that they disagree with is basically banned. Apart from these major decisions like abortion and like gay marriage, there's other things that they've slowly done. The Supreme Court has been stripping government agencies of power, like the EPA. They're kind of cutting away what they can make as regulations, what type of authority, for example, the EPA has and shit like that. So it's one of those scenarios that, look, it's annoying because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop, even at these decisions. They're going to keep moving forward, and they're just going to keep stripping people of the rights. Look, you don't have to agree with it. The same way that I don't agree with everything that conservatives or even the left, man, the shit that they say, as you guys saw in the previous video, there's a lot of stuff from the left that I think is bogus and ridiculous. There's a lot of things that are on the right that are bogus and ridiculous. And see, that's the problem, is that everybody's getting too cooped up on their one side, their one end, and they're trying to hold too strong. And the power of negotiation, the power of being able to compromise is gone. And that's why we're as divided as we are right now. With that being said, unfortunately, I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. The Democrats they've always been pussies, but they've made it more of a point to be even more pussified in this particular arena. But we'll see where we have to go. Unless they're willing to discuss expanding the Supreme Court or do away with the filibuster, unfortunately, it's not going to get better. It is what it is. Any thoughts on that, my man?
Yeah, nothing further.
All right, with that being said, let's move on to our final topic, and then we're kind of trying to speed through the first couple ones a little bit, just because this other one is a lot bigger and a lot more intensive, is a lot more detail oriented. So we want to move on to why you conservatives and America at large, why illegal immigration is your fault. So let's go ahead and discuss the main topic. Is going to be Cruz. A lot of people say that we almost had one here just recently, and the number of coups that have been going on in the Western Hemisphere is quite bountiful.
Gotcha. And I actually have representation for this, visual representation. Let me just get the old whiteboard here.
What you got over there, my man Puma?
I have here the entirety of Latin American countries that are recognized. My dirty whiteboard might make it difficult to see, but I was jotting this down as I go. So, let's count them with us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22 recognized Latin countries. Now, there have been U.S. intervention or attempts at regime changes in these countries, and how many of it is surprising. Let me find my fucking. Let me just get this. Hold it steady for me, please.
I got you.
All right. Now, the countries that I'm going to erase haven't had U.S. involvement in attempted regime change or successful regime changes. So out of these 22 countries, 12 of them have had regime changes or attempts at regime changes. Again, the fact that it's still attempted still makes it very criminal. Now, there's some very obvious ones like Cuba with, the Bay of Pigs invasion, obviously their land-standing tension. There was the one in Mexico, Nicaragua, with the Iran-Contra affair, and obviously the attempted topple of Noriega, which was successful. Panama, which obviously the Panama Canal, we already know that already. And the one I wanted to point to specifically was Bolivia. It's a piss poor attempt at a fucking star. Now, in my research, I noted something interesting about Bolivia because as I was reading the history of Bolivia in the United States, I found that there was an interesting parallel. Now, let me read you this entry for Bolivia on United States involvement in regime change in Latin America. The U.S. government supported the 1971 coup led by General Hugo Banzer that toppled President Juan Jose Torres of Bolivia. And Torres, I guess, pissed off Washington by convening something that was called an Asamblea del Pueblo, which is for anybody that doesn't speak English here, it is Assembly of the People. Now, the Assembly of that People were proletarian representatives of miners, unionized teachers, miners, and peasants. Essentially, the working class. Apparently that pissed off Washington for some reason. Couldn't tell you why, it just did.
Socialism.
So Banzer led a campaign against this guy, and Juan Torres did have to be exiled, I think in like the early 1970s, and he eventually did die. Why I pointed out Bolivia specifically was it actually involves one of my favorite billionaires, Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk came into fire in 2017, I believe, where he was discussing, I don't think it's wise that people should, or that the U.S. government should be spending money on stimulus checks, because he had a whole sentiment of it would make people fucking lazy, because he essentially viewed it as, what the fuck's it called when people get money for unemployment. So yeah, he said it's not in the U.S.'s best interest to supply a stimulus package because people are going to be lazy and all that bullshit. And somebody replied back at him, I don't think it's right that the U.S. is spending money on a coup that the majority of people didn't want in Bolivia. Now that came as a shock to everybody, because apparently, as it turns out, Bolivia had an upcoming election that was due to be They had an election that was due to be over soon, and one of the people that was in the campaign trail turned out to be a CIA puppet. But the person that the puppet was up against was actually a grassroots politician. He came up from the ground, supported by his own people. He was the people's vote. Thankfully, the election did favor of the grassroots politician. I forgot what the guy's name is, but the point was, it went to the people. Now, why would this person bring up an attempted coup in Bolivia? Because that doesn't just happen out of nowhere. Well, it turns out Bolivia did have an intense cache of lithium on their hands. Now, as you know, for anybody that's had an electric cars do use lithium batteries. And you can see why having a huge cache of lithium might be beneficial to somebody making electric cars. Cue Elon Musk. So when this person said, I don't think the U.S. should be spending money against the people's best interest on an attempted coup in Bolivia, Elon Musk responded back with, we will coup whoever we want. Deal with it. And I think that is fucking insane. But yeah, that was my bit. I'm just mad about that.
With that being said, he actually brings a good segue to my next point. The reason I personally said that it is conservative specifically, but most of America's fault, that these types of things like illegal immigration happen, is because of that type of sentiment, the type of sentiment that Elon has. If there is resources, which Central America has an abundance of different resources, whether it's oil, whether it's lithium, a long time ago, a plethora of gold. Again, it's a topic for a different day, but
that's legit where the term Banana Republic came from.
Yeah, one second. So one of the things that again he had brought up was, as long as there's resources in these different countries, businesses, specifically American businesses, have always had their hand on how things move in that particular country. Now, imagine yourself to be a Guatemalan, or someone from Bolivia, someone from Mexico, someone from Cuba, any one of these, fucking Nicaragua, any one of these countries, right? You elect a leader that won democratically, that they got the most votes, whether one side liked it or not, that's what they won. Now, the government says, well, he's forgiving, the, let's say, oil fields, the proceeds of the oil fields to the people. That's not good, because we want, as an American company, we want that oil to be sold. We want to take that oil and make it ours, much like a lot of the jokes that were made about Iraq. With that being said, these companies obviously pushed the U.S. government into a coup, into regime change. With that being said, once that happened, a lot of stuff happens, like destabilization, currency goes up and down. When currency goes up and down, the price of goods goes up and down, meaning we now have hunger, we now have people starving, so on and so forth. So as you, as an individual that's living in your country that a much more powerful country does, and destabilizes your government, the only thing you can do, if you can't find food, you can't find any resources, what do? You move. And where is you move? The strongest, most powerful nation in the world. So again, a lot of people make that long trek all the way to the United States. And then when they get there, they're met with, don't fucking come in the goddamn country. Do it the right way. Well, here's the thing. If you guys wouldn't have instituted some of these regime changes, if you guys wouldn't have gone in there and tried to take what resources they do have, these people would likely stay in their home because they wouldn't have to worry about their job, they wouldn't have to worry about not having food for their kids, they wouldn't have to worry about the safety, so on and so forth. So when you, when I say you, when Americans at large, but more often than not it's been conservatives that have instituted these regime changes, do those regime changes, it's natural that immigration is going to happen. So you guys are causing your own problem by saying, by voting in these individuals that want these regime changes to happen. I'll give you guys a really good fucking example. John Bolton, he was in President Trump's cabinet. He outright said just a couple days ago that what Trump did here in America was not a coup, but that they've done coups and that they've done coups happily. That it should continue to happen. It's weird because how do you complain about a problem that you yourself caused? You're gonna say, oh, those people, they shouldn't be coming here. All those people, they're bringing drugs and blah 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 all that other stuff. But you're the reason they're coming here. You're causing the crisis in their nation. Now, a lot of people in the United States are currently complaining about gas here in America. So a lot of people say, oh, it's bullshit. All these other countries, they have better gas. It's President Biden's fault. Blah 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 blah. Here's the thing. So unlike, for example, in Iraq, where you can get a gallon of gas for like 10 cents, look it up. It's actually ridiculously low. America doesn't own its own oil. It's a lot of private corporations that mine the oil and then they sell it out to whoever they want because that is capitalism. I'm a big fan of capitalism, so I'm not going to complain about capitalism, but a lot of you guys complain about capitalism. So there's capitalism at large. Now again, a lot of these companies generally, they want to take from other places. They want to take, because if you don't have to use your own reserves, you can use somebody else's reserves. It makes it a lot easier. But again, in the process of doing that, you guys are taking from those countries what little resources they may have for America benefit. And you say, screw those people. It's when those people say, okay, fine. If there's nothing here for me, meaning in the country that they're in, they're of course going to go to another country. Maybe the country that's taking their resources. Look, I'm a big fan of capitalism. I like to own shit. I like nice things, so on and so forth. But you can't ignore the fact that these type of policies create the problems that you guys claim to have. You can't say, I'm going to take and drain country A of all its resources and then complain when the people of country A come up to try and get some wealth, to just stability, just to live, not even to get ahead, but just to simply live. So it's one of those scenarios where again, you guys are causing your own problems. You guys need to do a little bit of research. The sad fact is a lot of Americans don't know this shit. Maybe they would vote differently if they did know this shit, but they don't. A lot of people don't even know America's own history, let alone the history of other countries. I would recommend you guys do a little bit of research because again, a lot of people would be surprised what America's done. And look, I'm for America, man. I love America. I think America's a great fucking country, but we can't cause a problem and then complain about the problem. It just doesn't work that way. What are your thoughts, man?
I had a long block of information that I just had right there, so yeah, I'm completely drained on this subject.
It seems like yours was more of a dig at Elon, which don't get me wrong, Elon's a piece of shit, so I fully
No. I just wanted to point that out because I was like, even today, there's still like this imperialistic attitude, and I'm like, I just think people like Latin countries are just fucking tired of it.
Yeah, man. See, that's one thing that you guys got to take into consideration. Imagine somebody came into Florida and kept taking all of Florida's resources for Iraq. You guys wouldn't be happy about it. Everybody in Florida that was affected by it, no resources, no job, no blah blah, they would move to another state. For example, New York. They would use up all the resources there because there's a huge displacement of people. Then they move somewhere else. It's just natural that when you take one of the pillars from one part of the building, the other parts have to compensate. And eventually, when you keep taking, of course, there's going to be a disaster that's going to happen. You guys should really do research on all of the countries. Again, using my man's board here, 12 out of 22 countries, the United States has had some sort of attempt at regime change or actual regime change. Generally speaking, from people that were duly elected. Now, I get it, man. A lot of these people that are duly elected, generally speaking, they're leftists, meaning they say, look, we're going to give the profits of this country, meaning oil reserves, meaning lithium, so on and so forth, to the people, meaning they're going to disperse the wealth, socialism. I get it. America doesn't want that anywhere around it. But again, you can't cause a problem, again, taking all the resources, and then when they say, hey, well, there's no resources in my country, I have to go elsewhere. And then complain when the elsewhere is America. America is a great fucking nation for a lot of reasons, but we need to work more on who we put into power and the things that we are okay with. If someone that you vote into power does something that you don't like, and it's a bad enough thing to where you think to yourself, you know what, I really shouldn't re-vote for this person again. Vote them the fuck out. Don't just vote for the familiar face, which is what too many people do. Everybody knows about the advantage that the incumbent has. Stop letting that be the thing. If someone does something shitty, vote them the fuck out. That's the problem that we have here in America, is we keep voting and we keep letting them lie to us, and we say, okay, well, this is the time they'll change. It's like an abusive relationship. It's like an abusive boyfriend and an abusive girlfriend. You think to yourself, you know, they're saying this time they're going to change. This time they'll really do it. And they might give you a crumb. They might give you a crumb of what they said that they were going to change. But that's just that little 2-week honeymoon phase where everything's fantastic and phenomenal and it's great. But then it goes right back to the BS relationship that it was. That's what we have with these politicians. We have an abusive relationship. So let's start changing some of this stuff, because again, if 12 out of 22 Latin American central countries have been pillaged, and really not even for the average American like you or myself, for again, the top 1%, the people that make all the money, the people that have all the money. If the top 1% is stealing from poor countries, poorer than America, they're stealing from those while also stealing from us here. Think about it. How does that make any sense? Why aren't we standing up against them? And again, don't get me wrong, I love capitalism. I like shit. In our house, we have too many goddamn TVs. I have a nice watch. I have my nice glasses. I like capitalism. But it shouldn't come at the cost of other individuals suffering so goddamn much. It shouldn't come at the cost of someone having to make a 2,000-mile journey with their children just to not even to get a fair shot, just to be told, nah, you have to wait.
Do not come.
How long do you have to wait?
Do not come.
Who knows how long you should wait? It doesn't matter. So one of those scenarios is, just think about it a little bit. Do a little bit of research. Again, America's a great fucking country for a lot of fucking reasons. But the shit that we've done to Latin American countries is atrocious. And don't get me wrong, America wasn't the first to do it. But again, it's one of those scenarios where we have to start changing the way shit is. At the end of the day, you know, these countries like China, like Ukraine, I'm sorry, not Ukraine, like Russia, all these countries, we look at them as bad because we say, oh look, they're mistreating their people. Oh look, they're abusing minorities. We're doing that here, man. We need to be better than them. Everyone will always just say, and they still say, a lot of people still say this, that America is the #1 country for a reason. Let's show why. Because all these regime changes, all these coup attempts in Latin American countries is the reason why those countries are so poor. It's the reason why those countries can't seem to stabilize. Don't get me wrong, it's not the only reason, but when, it was mostly the CIA. When the CIA installs a puppet dictator that says, you will do basically everything we tell you to, or we will overthrow you and possibly have you killed by your own people. You don't have much of a choice. You're gonna play ball. So if they tell you, hey, let these businesses pillage the shit out of your lands, and you get basically to stay in power for a little bit of time, what else are you supposed to do? With that being said, that's our take on this particular issue. Do me a favor, research it, go out there, look it up. If you really want a lot of these immigrants that are coming from these Central American countries to stop coming to America, for whatever your reasons, whether they're good reasons, whether you want them to do better in their own land, or whether you're just a fucking racist. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. Do a little bit of research as to why those countries are decentralized, and again, you'll see 99% of it is because a puppet dictator gets put in by the CIA, by our own country. So if you really want to stop this, you need to stop it at the source, which is our country. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, all that BS. We fucking love y'all. We are going to be having some guests on soon. I've already talked to some of you guests that have been watching the show. We appreciate you. We'll have you on. We're going to have a lot deeper discussions. And when we get there, we'll see you on the other side.
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you next time.
That was good. I'll be honest with you. I think the one last week was a little cleaner.